Welcome back to the podcast. This is the show that's dedicated to scaling and strategizing within the hospitality industry. Today, we're honored to feature a true veteran of the industry, Rick Ringo. He has over 25 years of leadership experience, and he is the Corporate Director of Hospitality for IBM Hospitality Management. So, your commitment to the industry has earned you some significant recognition, including the prestigious Wyndham Hotel Scott King Award for Excellence in Hospitality. Congratulations on that, as well as the Travel Media Group's list of top 25 hospitality heroes. Congratulations on that as well. That's great. What we're going to do today, we're going to deep dive into some of the current trends, opportunities, challenges, pain points that are in the hospitality industry. There's been a lot of interesting things happening in the last few years. So let's get started.
Yeah,
Welcome.
agreed. And thank you, Susan. And actually, I was recently promoted last month as Senior Vice President of Operations for IDM Hospitality.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank
They
you.
need to
Thank
add
you.
that to your website because that is not on your website.
I do. You're correct.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and about IDM Hospitality.
Yeah, certainly. So, as you said, you kind of said some of my history. I spent quite a few years operating my own consulting company within the hospitality industry, providing all kinds of services from task force general management to again just consulting on various items within our industry. And I've been with IDM now for a little over a year. And that stands for in development and management. So we're kind of a double focused company, if you will. So we help owners develop properties as well as manage them also. So, but my background is it really goes back through. I've worked with I think just about 62 different properties at this point, 20 some food and beverage operations, etc. So I've been very fortunate in my career in the hospitality industry. Ironically, I started in sales and marketing
Oh, wow.
as a sales manager at a Econo Lodge in Dayton, Ohio. And somehow it progressed from there. But yes, here I am quite a few years later and just I enjoy our industry very much.
It is a wonderful industry. I too enjoy it. It's a great industry. Can you give me a little more detail on IDM Hospitality? You said it has sort of two streams. So what sort of services are you actually offering hotels, as well as are you in hotels and doing the full operations with your own staff?
Well, thank you for asking that. It gives me an opportunity to talk about my company just a little bit. So, yeah, so we do everything from development, which is, we'll jump in at just the ground floor with an owner who starts out with an idea and then
Okay.
has a building. We've done a lot of historical upgrades and developments. We've done standard properties as well, but mostly independent and boutique. That doesn't mean that we won't do branded or that we are even opposed to it, but our real specialty is independent boutique properties, development, and then yes, full operational services from accounting, human resources, property operations, food and beverage operations. So we're really a full scale hospitality management company.
So when you're talking about the development that, so an owner would come to you, they would have a site or property in mind, and you would help them strategically, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but do the full business casing in terms of what they need to do to make a hotel and get everything up and structured. Is that accurate or am I?
No, you're very accurate. And
Okay.
one of the first services we provide to someone that contracts our services is a deep dive analysis. So,
Okay.
one, we'll make sure that this building or this idea is even feasible in that market. And again, that
Okay.
requires some in-depth study. So we do the analysis on that, and if it in fact looks like it's a viable project, then we'll go back to the owner or owners with that information and let them make the decision on if they want to invest the necessary funds to make this thing come to life. And then from there, we work with the architects, the construction teams, the everybody to bring this project to life. And so, again, once we have it open, of course, we do hope that they choose our management services to keep it running. So, and really, that's what I mean by full scale. So we're in from the first day, development, architecture, construction. I mean, right down to, there's a lot of permitting. There's quite a bit of work to get a hotel operational in any market. But Yes, so we're there for it all, and we can provide all of those services.
That's very unique because I've talked to a number of property management companies and they're not doing that upfront piece. They're going in and just doing the operations piece. But you're doing the whole value chain there. That's very unique, very interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of how IDM started. Really, 1989 was when
Okay.
the company got its start. Honestly, our president and CEO, Craig Netterson, he owned a boutique independent resort up in Door County, Wisconsin, and he was having quite a bit of success with that. He himself was a chef in the industry,
Hmm.
and he worked in Hawaii quite a bit and wanted to move back to Wisconsin, close to family. So people started coming to him for advice, and then they started coming him to what if, and then they started coming to him for, can you help me get this project off the ground? And in reality, that's how IDM was started.
Wow, that is very interesting and very, very unique. So how many properties do you currently manage?
We currently manage 9. We've got 4 that are in the contracting stage for development or management services. So, but yeah, currently we're operating 9 independent boutique properties, mainly through Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa.
Very interesting. So what are the plans for, well, there's not much left in this year and into 2026.
Well, when we look at 2026 in the analysis, I mean, the independent boutique market actually it will see growth in 2026. The branded properties are kind of predicted to stay flat, perhaps some negative growth. We'll
Mhm.
see ADRs that are basically flat or in some cases in reverse for the branded properties, but then we see growth, although not large, in the independent boutique market. But in fact, by 2030, they expect that independent boutique ADRs will continue to increase and properties to increase about 62%. So there's a lot of life coming for the independent boutique market. And mainly that's tinged on when you have an economy like this. And I stay in Marriott properties, I stay in Hilton, I stay in Choice and IHG products often, but in the independent boutique market, we create experiences. And the one thing that you don't have when you're staying at a branded property per se is an experience. I mean, standardization in the fast food industry is paramount, right? You want your quarter pounder to be the same in every city that you get it. You want your Whopper to pretty much look like the one you had in Indiana when you order it in California. But the thing that makes the independent boutique market unique is that we create individual experiences at each property that we do business with, and we're finding more and more that people are attracted to that kind of thing. So we create experience.
That's great. So what is going to be driving the growth for independent boutique hotels? Because you're talking about significant growth between now and 2030, which is going to come much faster than we anticipate. Like that's not very far
Right.
out. So what do you think is going to drive that growth versus what's happening at the chain hotels?
Yeah, what's driving the growth is again people veering off into that experiential type experience. They want unique and they want different, and that's exactly what each independent boutique property has. No two are the same. So, in fact, every one of our properties is very, very different, but designed to be that way. So, people are seeking out more experiences, particularly when we get into this, again, back to the economy, this economy with flat growth, etc. So when people are looking for hotel rooms, again, they want it to be an experience, and oftentimes they'll pay a little more for that, despite again the economic pressures that we see on travelers in the market. I mean, we'll see leisure kind of flatten out in 2026. Small corporate group will increase as leisure travel kind of flattens out. Again, for the independent boutique market, we see an increase in small group and again, the leisure segment that's attracted to the independent style hotel.
So can you give me some examples on what you're doing differently for your competitive advantage for the customer experience? Yes, the hotels are all different and boutique, but is there anything specific that you can give an example on in terms of what you do differently?
Yeah, certainly. So we can create experience packages, and one of
Okay.
our properties, the Hotel Julian Dubuque, a rather famous hotel in Dubuque, Iowa, we've created packages that center around its historical value. There's a lot of history with Al Capone at that property.
Oh, okay.
And as such, we do put together some interesting Capone packages. There's actually a Capone suite in that hotel. and we wrap around F&B experiences, that go along with that hotel. 1920s style experiences and dining that you can actually have inside of that room. So again, that's just one example of some of the creativity that we can come up with in these types of hotels.
That sounds really interesting. So what sort of feedback are you getting from your customers in that space?
The feedback we get from our customers is again unique. You can't find that experience anywhere else in Iowa. You certainly can't find it in California. You won't find it in Florida. So it's unique to that specific property. So people that are seeking out something like that are specifically drawn to that type of environment. So nobody else can offer it. It's just us.
So in terms of your reservations and your occupancies, like COVID came in and it hit everybody very hard. And I know some hotels have now sort of regained their occupancies they had pre-COVID. Others still aren't quite there. What are your sort of thoughts on where things are at? Because you did say things will be flat next year, but have you guys regained pre-COVID occupancy levels?
We have, and of course, 2024 was kind of a disappointing year across the board, but 2025 was kind of a rebound. 2024 saw negative growth as compared to what we saw in 22 and 23. Again, 25 was kind of a rebound, but there's a lot of pressure on the hospitality market itself with people traveling, and again, we see this for economic uncertainty, for again, certainly from inflation, et cetera. So folks are hanging on to their money more now than they were. But I think as we start to see, what we predict will be some changes in the economy. In other words, inflation dropping, et cetera. Again, we should see travelers traveling again. But Smith Travel Research predicts that as we still have this uncertainty with tariffs and et cetera, we may not see this kind of growth until after mid-year in 2026.
So has this changed at all your plans in the marketing space, marketing and sales space?
It has, and significantly in working with the OTAs, the Expedias of the world,
Yep.
the Booking.com, et cetera. So what we're finding is that their creativity and how they market themselves online is taking away from our profitability quite a bit. Their commissions are, we appreciate the business and they're a great filler for us, but they should never be our primary source of revenue at any property. So what we're finding we're doing more and more, particularly 2025 and into 2026, is once again creating marketing that drives people to our own websites, encouraging folks to book online, because then that way we save, we bring 15 to 19% more to the bottom line on every reservation. So that's one of the main targets for marketing this year is again steering folks to our own websites, and that creates a lot of creative website development and building, and we like to think we're on top of that. Although the independent boutique market in 2025 actually kind of went backwards overall in the country. IDM, we saw 6% growth across the board for all of our properties, and that was basically from a strong kick at our resort properties up in Door County and ADR increases that went along with that. So by pushing our experiences in creative marketing and creating packages, we're seeing increased ADR and actually even occupancy growth across our properties.
That's wonderful. What is your biggest pain point right now? Is it the occupancy rates?
The
What's your biggest
the
pain point?
occupant yeah, the occupancy, but then again too the ADR. So
Yeah,
in our markets, as perhaps the branded properties, the chains, or even other independent markets, I mean everyone's competing for the same share, and we don't necessarily like to drop our rates to lure in business.
right.
So we again have to create that. I mean, we have to market that creativity and that independence, but then we couple that with our F&B operations as compared to select service, et cetera. So, we have to be marketing across all segments of our industry and bringing the folks to us.
So what are you looking for to address this ADR and this marketing in the next 12 to 18 months? Are you going to be doing anything new and different in that space, new tools? Have you changed how you're going about the marketing, not just the content, but some of the tools that you're using for it, the approaches, that sort of thing?
Yes, we're gaining more and more appreciation for SEO online. I mean, we have to be competitive in the online space at this point. And although previously sometimes your online content, your online placement. We consider this above the fold and below the fold. To borrow from a newspaper term, is that now we like to keep our properties above the fold, and that comes through SEO optimization online and sometimes working with other companies that can provide that kind of optimization. But that's become key for us, and especially going into 2026 is our online presence and marketing. I mean, nowadays it's hard to find a guest that stays with you that hasn't gone to TripAdvisor or hasn't read reviews online. So again, that establishes the need for excellent guest service as well. So all of these things have to be combined now to attract guests, as we saw in 2025, but moving forward into 2026 as well. So, moving forward, I mean, you have to be a total package and you have to pay attention to all of these areas.
So have you headed down the AI path yet in any of these spaces to help out?
I use AI honestly quite a bit for analysis. It's a great tool. I can generally fact check it myself because I stay pretty in tune to
Yeah.
what the markets are doing. But right now, I mean, AI is really, really important to us in analysis. Again, our sales and marketing folks are finding some ways to again use this for marketing and for sales. I won't say we've totally walked through that door yet, but we're just now poking around to see where AI best suits us. But again, so because we do those in-depth analysis pieces for potential owners and for potential properties in any market, we found AI to be extremely useful in that space.
Things change in the AI world rapidly. So there's a lot of, I've had a lot of conversations with people, customers, hotels, sorry, are using AI in the marketing space because it can automate things to streamline it so it's not so administratively heavy. It can
Yes.
also target in a much shorter period of time a much broader audience and pull things in and do all the scripting. I know a number of hotels are heading down the AI space to try in that as a particular example to try and up their marketing game and up their sales game and up the volume and capacity that they can hit in that space.
Susan, off podcast, we'll talk. I'd like to know some of your contacts.
Sure. Happy to. Off podcast, I'm happy to have that conversation. So your ADR, your sales and marketing, you're looking to do a little bit of growth next year, or at least maintain where you are, but some growth next year in the space. Are you looking potentially to have more hotels join your group?
Yes, we are. As a matter of fact, like I said, we've got four in the contract development phase right now. One of those is an existing property. Three of those are development projects. In fact, I have a meeting later on this afternoon for a prospective owner. But in reality, as a management company, we're going to kind of shift our focus as well because we have a full accounting department, we have a full F&B department, obviously our operational expertise. So we're going to turn these into revenue streams as well. So for 2026, we're going to start reaching out for just simply accounting contracts, reaching out for F&B contracts in either restaurant management or development or whichever path that leads us down. So again, we're trying to find more creative ways as a company to be more profitable as well.
So, as part of that and those contracts, would you also be providing all the staff? Like, let's say you got F&B contracts, you'd be providing the managers right through to the wait staff, or would you be leveraging someone else to provide the resources to do it?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Susan. So, as a matter of fact, with IDM Hospitality, in our hotels, there's only one where the employees aren't our employees. Is when we contract, we're responsible for all of the hiring, in particular the GM and director of sales and marketing. But no, when we manage a property, we take on all the employees, and we're responsible for the human resources aspect of that. Just one thing that owners or developers don't need to mess with. Oftentimes, an independent boutique hotel is an investment. We've got bankers, we've got lawyers, etc., that understand the value of having a property like that, but not the expertise to run it. So that's what they come to us for. That's the one thing that keeps us around is that again, we can walk into a hotel, we can make it profitable, we can provide the staffing, the human resources necessary, etc. So again, that goes back to us being a for real full service management company.
Interesting. It's definitely a trend where more and more hotels are going over to management companies.
It makes sense in reality. So again, especially as after COVID, surviving 2021, I mean, COVID could have been decimating to our industry. I mean, we saw in the Great Recession in 2008 how many hotel companies and how many hotels just strictly went out of business. But again, there was so much support in this country during COVID from a variety of sources. We're backing hospitality companies despite the downfall. So we didn't lose quite as many properties and we didn't lose quite as many companies as we did during the Great Recession. So this made investing in hotels and restaurants continue to be a profitable endeavor for those folks that may not necessarily be in our industry, but again, wanted to park their money somewhere safe that they would see growth. And again, that's the best thing about our history. Since 1989, we've done exactly that. So we're a pretty safe place to invest your money if you want to run a hotel and have us manage it.
So we've talked about the revenue side and getting guests through the door and your ADR. On the operational side, what have you done to manage costs? Because it's two sides of the same coin, right? So
You are correct.
yes.
Yeah, so flow through profits right now are everything. So we need to have smooth, savvy operators as our GMs in our properties that understand flow through profitability. And again, so we've in 2025 in particular, we reviewed every contracted service, reviewed different food and beverage contracts to reduce costs. I mean, because right now the food and beverage industry is just taking a beating and margins are so small. And I hate to see these mom and pop restaurants and these smaller restaurants that just can't quite make it in this economy. And probably some of our restaurants couldn't either if it wasn't for the support of the hotel. But again, it's reducing costs across the board, doing more with less using
Yeah.
tech as an example. So yes, I mean that's become very, very important. And that starts with training your general managers and executive teams at the property and making sure that that flows through down to all employees, that they understand the reason that when you have 20% occupancy, you can't have 10 housekeepers that day. I mean, it's unfortunate because we love our employees, but again, it's difficult times call for, sometimes some difficult decisions. But again, it's maintaining that profitability no matter what. I mean, you can miss your top line budgeted revenue, but you still can make your bottom line revenue if you're controlling costs correctly, right?
And sometimes AI can help in that space as well. So I want to loop back to customer experience and all the good work you're
Sure.
doing in customer experience. Have you made any changes in that space or are planning to make any changes in that space? Because I know a lot of customers are now asking for, mobile check-in, mobile check-out, all of those sorts of things. And I know some hotels have put systems in place where the guest can very quickly just online ask for towels. Some of them have put, kiosks or tablets
Yeah.
in the hotel rooms and stuff, right? Have you leveraged any of that sort of technology yet?
Yes, and I've been so impressed with some of the property management systems that have come out that incorporate this technology, especially when you have text services. A guest checks in, they get a
Yeah.
text saying, we hope everything is great. Instead of that old, what we used to do is 15 minutes after check-in at the front desk, we give them a call, just make sure everything is okay.
Yeah.
Now, I still personally like that personal touch, but you're right. In certain circumstances, technology can cover things. And in fact, we have a property, Misty Mountain Lodge in Estes Park, Colorado, that you can have an entirely no-touch check-in process. I mean, to include your key is downloaded to your phone.
Yes.
So, which again greatly reduces our staffing costs as long as you have somebody that is still accessible to be face to face with the guests. But no, we love this technology. We're attempting to incorporate it every time we change locks or as we look into upgrading our PMS systems going into 2026. We look at this technology and again, how that can be a greater service to our guests, reduce costs. But again, we don't want to lose that personal touch. It's very, very important to me personally that this is the hospitality industry and the root word of that is hospitable. And you can only do that with people. So it's from the guest experience perspective, it's important to find that balance, I believe.
I 100% agree. I think where some of the technology changes with AI as an example are enabling hotels, restaurants to offer even better service because they can get rid of some of the lower level stuff that guests are happy to do on their own, freeing them up to be able to even do higher level problem solving with guests and offering services and all those kinds of things. The hotel industry, I don't think will ever be replaced by technology. Fingers crossed. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I figure I hope not in my lifetime. I'd hate to see that.
Although I think Japan does have little pod hotels where you never see a human, where you just go into a pod now, but that's for a very specific niche market.
We may have read the same article. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
you know the one I mean.
yeah.
That you crawl it. Yes, yes. So there's lots of opportunities there, both on the sales side and increasing your revenues and on cost. So a lot of hotels are looking at what they can do in those spaces to yeah to keep growing and to keep costs down.
Yeah, and recent technology, I mean, it made our email blasts much easier.
Okay.
So again, you can write up almost very, very quickly an experience or program that you can, jet out to 25,000 email. If you have
Yeah.
that kind of email guests, if you have that kind of
Yeah.
database at any certain property, which again increases reservations as well. We're lucky we have like one hotel right now. It's their season. I mean, they're next to a ski resort, forming a relationship with that ski company. It drives revenue for us. So, and part of that is again the email blasts that go with that, the cross marketing between both entities. So again, just small examples of what's going on in the market with technology, but then also now with forming those partnerships
Yes.
that are necessary for both businesses, both entities.
So if you didn't continue down this path, doing some of the things that you've got planned, what would the cost of inaction be?
Oh, the cost of inaction. I fear at this point, after the year we had in 2024, luckily the slow but upward trend in 2025, I think the cost of inaction would be basically insolvency. I mean, it's just every company now has to strategize, use the technology that's available, AI emerging. I mean, it's just going to be an incredible thing. But again, keeping that guest experience, face-to-face contact, creating new and different will continue to be the hallmarks in our industry, but it's critical at this point when we're seeing small margins that again we use everything at our disposal in terms of technology and again AI as it's emerging to leverage that for profitability.
So is your company specifically looking to continue to invest in some of those changes in the next few years?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We'll continue to follow these trends. And I think that we're going to see a lot in 2026 that's new and different and
Yeah.
opportunities. And now we're tracking this very closely. We want to make sure that we're ahead of the industry in that regard for independent and in the independent and boutique space. I mean, for us, marketing is much more expensive in reality. We don't have national commercials. We don't have a recognizable sign per se up on the hotel all the time. We do have some soft branding experiences, but again, so marketing for us and maximizing those dollars is extremely important.
Excellent. Anything else you would like to add or mention?
Well, I think that again, 2026 is going to be an exciting year. We just have completed our budgeting process like you said, we're already in December. So I think 2026 is going to be a good year. Again, I think that some things will start to shake out economically, et cetera. Again, it's people want to travel and they want to have experiences. I don't think that's going to change. And maybe some haven't really thought about this, but as we see the price of gas falling. Again, that bodes well for the leisure travel.
Right.
We're seeing this crossover into the airline industry as well. So again, I think 2026 offers some great opportunity.
Fantastic. Any advice you have for other hotels, other hotel GMs, owners, property management companies?
I'll go back to my old saying. It's whatever it takes.
Yes.
I teach a
Yes.
class on whatever it takes. So,
Oh, good.
at the front desk, you have to find reasons to say yes. We can't tell people no. We have to do whatever it takes, in a tough economy to survive. So yeah, I tell my general managers, I tell the employees, look, just whatever it takes. Let's go out there and get it done.
I like it. I like it. Whatever it takes. That is a really
Whatever
good
it takes.
tagline. That's excellent.
Every
Anyway,
question in the hospitality industry can be answered with, well, whatever it takes. So think of a question
yes.
that
No,
can't
it's
be answered
true.
by whatever it takes when it comes to taking care of our guests, right? So,
very interesting times, and not just in hotels. Like it's across the board for retail, for anybody who's trying to sell anything to customers. It's interesting times, as they say.
It is. It is. And I didn't
Interesting.
even talk about international travel. I mean, that didn't really come up. And again, the declining numbers we're seeing there,
Yes.
that's a whole nother aspect, especially when you have northern centered properties, as again, as we see the declines in Canadian travel, et cetera. But these trends tend to correct themselves.
Yeah, it's all cyclical, right? Like all these
It's all
things,
cyclical.
all cyclical.
Of course.
Okay, that would be
So
awesome.
what AI, what kind of, who are you dealing with AI that you would recommend in terms of marketing?
Well, a new tool just dropped literally a week ago today. So I work with AI acquisitions. I come
Uh-huh.
from, I'll just give you a little bit of background on me. I have my undergraduate degree is hospitality and tourism, and then I went into PricewaterhouseCoopers and did consulting in hospitality, tourism, feasibility studies, and all of that. Then I went into other industries like insurance, mining, finance, all kinds of stuff to do big ERP implementations and business transformations and operational redesign, all of that kind of stuff on my own. So
Oh,
now
wow.
I'm moving into the AI space. Yeah, so but the hospitality is my first love, and I've worked in five-star hotels, I've worked in restaurants, I've done all of that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
So as I'm shifting myself away from just basic ERP implementations, I wanted to get into what value can AI really deliver the hospitality industry in terms of increasing revenues and helping with costs. So that is
Yeah, I think
my
we're just scratching the surface right now, quite honestly.
totally just scratching the surface. Totally just scratching the surface. So I'm doing this podcast to learn as much as I can in the industry of what's going on. What are the pain points? What are people doing? And we have literally just barely touched the little tip of the iceberg of what's going to come down in this space. So yes, there's a number of products that I've been looking at. One that just dropped last Monday, and I'm going to use the sales and marketing example, where they have automated all the lead generation, all of the scripting, all of the CRM, all of the sales piece of it into one tight little bundle with all the workspace and all the reporting off of it, which I personally am going to be using and I think has a lot of value. It's very cool, very slick, and it's compared to when you're looking at a Salesforce or things like that, the price
Uh-huh.
points on them are way, way better. Yeah, if you're interested in something like that, like I'm happy to set up a demo for you or have an additional call, like just go into something like that if you're interested.
Yeah, that would be great because even in the interview, we didn't talk about CRM or the importance of that,
Yeah.
in conjunction with the marketing and sales aspect. So that's one thing we really picked up. We really bettered our game in 2025 was the revenue management aspect of things. And again, it turned out to be very, very profitable. I mean, when I first came to the company in 2024, quite literally our conference was 2 weeks later. And we had a gentleman there speaking about, basically CRM systems and revenue management as a whole. And IDM wasn't really even doing much of this. And
Yeah.
when I found that out, I didn't know. I was only with the company for 2 weeks. I was like, my gosh, we're leaving $500,000 out there on the table. And so designed a revenue management program that we really put in full force in 2025. And it turns out I was mostly right, but we were leaving a lot of money out there on the table.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at is the CRM system, and it's all integrated, it all talks to each other. It's pretty good at economizing and creating efficiencies in something that can be very, as you know, very labor intensive. It's incredibly nimble in terms of the ability to shift and pivot if you're changing your marketing messaging, the scripting on it, any of that. It's so nimble and like it is absolutely mind blowing. Yeah, it's very interesting time, and I'm just so excited about the opportunities to really help streamline stuff and help hotels and restaurants. You have provided some valuable insights here. This has been a very interesting conversation. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. I've enjoyed this a lot as well. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me, actually.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
Susan. You have
Bye.
a great day too.